So today on Project Shop, we are on the last of the stators, electric motors, and AC compressor motors. We've got a couple more big ones that I can pull with the machine in this configuration, and then I'm gonna have to put the plates and the adapters back on to do the smaller ones, and then hopefully we'll get this stuff done today. Now all this stuff is split up to about here. This stuff is going to take a little bit more work to get the copper out of it because it didn't want to split. I'm going to have to cut it with the grinder. I also have a bunch of transformers, bastard transformers that won't go through the machine that need to be cut. And then while I have that set up right here, I'll just do all that at once with the big old 7-inch grinder and a diamond bit. But for now, we're going to get right on this because this is kind of a slow, tedious operation. I got to step up my hydraulic game, and then this is going to be an incredible setup. But for now, we're going to work with what we got. That's some tough shit. Easy. You can't get all that one grab. Man, that's nice. I need a bunch of those. Okay. Starting to get a little chunk there in the bucket. The rest of this is tedious, and I need to swap over to the top plate to hold these. I'm running out of stroke, and the gap here is just too big for these. So I'm gonna knock these out, and then we'll come back, figure out what we're gonna do with all this stuff here, and then we're just gonna keep this copper party going. Okay, I was moving right along, and then I came across this thing, which I had thrown out there a while ago. This has been hanging around here, and then and I know why. It's really hard to pull, and I was going to burn it in the incinerator and cook off the paper, because I started pulling on it and it broke my tab that stops this from coming forward. Now, this is not done, and this tab eventually is not going to be there, because the way I really want it is I want a pin drop down from the top to hold it in place, and I want to pull these out this way. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but to me it'd be more convenient if I pull them out this way. Right now, I just temporarily tacked the tab on there just to stop this from coming forward. I'm gonna have to weld it on there a little harder, so yeah, that's what I got to do. So I got the little Lincoln Handy MIG. See if there's any wire left in here. Yep. This is running flux core wire. Speed is way up. Put it on high, 3. All right, let me plug this in and get this thing welded back on so we can continue pulling. I was in a good groove there. Listen to some music, cranking away, and then we have that problem. So it's a good thing that I can maintain and fix pretty much my own equipment for the most part, except for like that hydraulic seal that's leaking like a sieve. I can fix that myself. I've done hydraulic seal replacement before. I just got to take it apart and order the seal, or take it over to my buddy that does that. So I need a power cord. Funny enough, it looked like a piece of copper. Ah. Right, it's still jacked up. I might need a new one of these. Aha. There we go. So these things here, you know, they come with like a spanner wrench to open these, but you don't need to crank down on these things. I never tighten these things more than finger tight. And usually, as long as you don't have some catastrophic pinch, you know, that's it. You should just be able to crack it loose with your hand. All right. Thing is awfully noisy, and I'm gonna go find a long sleeve jacket. Man, that thing is loud, and this is some dirty, oily, greasy stuff, which flux core is the way to go when you're working with dirty stuff. Should have welding clothes on. Probably good. It's better than what it was. I'll give this side a little more tat. What I like about these little, this handy MIG and my other 110 MIG welder, my other one is a bigger machine than this. I think it's the biggest 110 machine before they go to 220 that Lincoln makes. I like them because as long as you're not doing something like really structural or crazy thick metal, man, you could just throw this thing in the back of your truck, and with an extension cord, it's better if you get closer to the plug, but you don't need gas or nothing. You just grab this, go, start welding. You know, obviously it's better if you have a grinder and whatnot, keep it clean. Now this was not the best weld in the world because this was greasy and dirty and paint, but it'll hold for what we're doing. Yeah, so that's why I like these little welders, man. And like, if something breaks like this in the shop, rather than dig out my big 220 welder and with the gas and all that stuff, and have to prep this really good and clean and degrease, you just grab this and go, and within 5 minutes, you know, you can be back to working. So that's why my transformer press looks like it does, because every time it breaks, I just grab a welder, get it running again, and go back to work. See, this is the problem with not splitting them. This one was clearly cut on one side, and it don't want to come out. I'm just going to let this one go. Well, we will try this one real quick. This one's loaded with copper. I should have this plate clamped down as well, but you know how we like to roll around here. Might not want to grab. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Problem is, that's on such a slant. There's nowhere for it to grab on that side, so I'm gonna try and knock it out. If not, it's gonna be the cooker. Oh yeah. Now we're back in business. I'm talking about, man. Easy money. Okay. We're almost done with that. Then I'm gonna get set up with the grinder. We'll come back when we got some more copper to punch out and see how we're gonna do the ones like this. So I don't even know if these are actually worth it. I should have broke one down completely because they have to be punched out. Now, if I had like a hammer mill, that'd be the way to go with those. Even like split them in half like this and then throw them in the mill and break that stuff up. That's something we'll work on in the future. But we have to at least finish one project before we move on to that. All right. Got like a little more than half of heavy steel. I don't know how much we got in there. We'll have to go weigh that. But we got all the ones I can pull right away. These ones here, I'll be able to pull them, but I gotta cut. I'm gonna use the grinder and cut half of this off, and then I'll pull it. So we still got a little bit of work to do. I don't know if I'm gonna get to all that in this video. It's getting kind of later in the evening. And I actually went on a trip earlier today into the middle of the state, so I'm kind of, as you could say, jet lagged or car lagged. But I have a new thing where I have a $400 a day goal. So let's weigh some stuff up. I got some stuff out here I can weigh up and add to it, and see if we got our $400, and then we might just cut it off. I am going to cut these real quick with a torch, and that way I can get to both sides of these and get that copper out of there, and then we'll throw that on with the heavy steel, and we should be pretty close. I might have to just round up a couple more things that I got laying around, and then yeah, then we'll come back tomorrow and do another $400. Concrete and molten metal really don't go together. I'm gonna put something down there to catch the heavy slag. All right, man, we actually made our $400 goal for the day. We're actually at 426, and we have 415 the other day, so we're gaining on it. I might be able to take a day off soon. Anyway, here's the tickets for basically what I did all week. Well, not all of it, but the stuff I was actually able to turn in. So we had 179 pounds of number 2 copper, 360 a pound, 644.40. That was all the noodles and stuff from that scrap. And we had 2,296 pounds of AC coils, copper aluminum coils, $2 a pound for $4,592 even. Then we had the number 1 copper, 126 pounds we were able to recover at $370 a pound for $466.20. Now, over here, some of that copper, I think 70 pounds of that or 65 pounds of that was from the transformers. So, you know, basically we gained 100 out of the 200 pounds that we had from that job. We gained 126 pounds of number 1 at a 10-cent a pound difference. Probably wasn't worth the time to do that, but if you have some real easy stuff where there's it's not so tedious, I think it's worth it. And if you got nothing to do. So then we had all aluminum rads, 1,303 pounds, 55 cents a pound at $716.65 for $6,419.25. Now, I think I added a little. I had 1 coil I added to that, the clean copper aluminum rads. I had a coil I added to it, and then I had a couple auto rads I added to this aluminum that I had just sitting around the shop. So it's a little bit more, and I wind up after the tear weights paying just under $6,000. So it was like $5,900 maybe, something like that. And then that wasn't even all the stuff. That wasn't none of the compressors, none of the motors. So I got my money back and got into some profit, and this was all except for the, I think I spent an hour or so cleaning that copper with Steve that day. The rest of that was just basically just load up and go, you know. So then we went to the steel yard like a couple days later, and we had 3,960 pounds of prepared steel at 8 cents a pound for $316.80. And then we had the sheet iron, which was 1,660 pounds, 6.25 cents a pound, 103.75 for $420.55. And this was when they magged off the heavy steel in the back, and then I just dumped the trailer. I'm gonna pretty much do it that way from now on. Couple reasons. One, all that heavy steel, I wouldn't want to put it up front and then that thing not be able to pick it up. And 2, I got it pretty much over one of the axles on the back, so it wasn't that bad. I didn't even feel it really pulling down the road. Then after that, I left. I came back to the shop, ate lunch. Then we went and picked up, took me an hour to do this job. This was all those trash cans. So it was 3,860 pounds of trash cans at 6.25 cents a pound for $241.25. That's not bad for an hour's worth of work. And we loaded the first couple, but then we got them to bring over a forklift, and they just loaded it up. I just had to push them to the front. We locked the gates, went straight to the scrap yard, got paid on that. That was half the load. We got to go back and pick up the other half next week. And then on Friday, to end out the week, I took 470 pounds of number 2 copper. Copper went down 10 cents throughout the week, $3.50 a pound, and we had $1,645. And then while I was down there on my way back from this, I actually stopped and looked at a big boy generator, man. It ain't a lot of times I get diesel generators, but this is a diesel generator. It's a giant Cummins with a 150 kV back end on it. It's inside a building. We have to have them cut a hole in the building, and I'm gonna drag it out, and I would love to keep this generator. because it's 3-phase and it's diesel, and it'll power everything I need, and I'm pretty sure I can get it to run off of black diesel, which stay tuned for some updates on that. We're going to be putting the Oberg oil filter press to work, plus something else. Come as far. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, because I still got some big boy rotors and stators to do. Well, not stators, just mostly the rotors, and then we're gonna be doing a little bit of micro scrapping here, and I'm gonna have to fire up the incinerator. It's time. I've gathered up a bunch of stuff for it, and I just can't hold off any longer. So you're not gonna want to miss that. I'll tell you where we're going, right to the scrap yard. Dancing. You ever seen your copper dance before?